You also posted about your call with President Putin today. You spoke about meeting in Hungary with him. Do you have a timeline or a date set for when?
Yeah, I would say within 2 weeks or so. I'm doing it also to help Europe. They want to have it ended, but they're unable to do it. I'm able to do it. So I think we'll be successful. It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get, so I canceled it. But we'll do it in the future.
President Trump talking about meeting with Vladimir Putin in Hungary, that now off. Joining us just out of the White House Oval Office, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Mr. Secretary General, thanks for coming back on Special Report.
Thanks for having me on the program again.
I would love to get your assessment of what you took from that Oval Office meeting. We obviously got a chance to ask questions to the president inside, but what's your take from that meeting?
Well, here we have a president who from day one coming into office wants to end this war in Ukraine. By the way, he has been extremely successful recently with Gaza, and he has ended other conflicts, including India, Pakistan, and Armenia, Azerbaijan. So he is really a peacemaker. He wants to end this war. This is close to his heart. He wants to end the killing. And I think what he did on Friday and Sunday, saying, hey, let's stop where you are. So stop where you are. And then you can still debate a lot of other things later. But stop the fighting is exactly the right approach. And now we have to make sure that Ukraine wants to do it, they said already, but also for the Russians to come to the table. And today the sanctions on oil companies will help.
We see the line as we look at the map. It hasn't changed much. You say stop the line. In Europe, are leaders on board? Is Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on board to get to a ceasefire, stopping where it is right now?
Zelensky already indicated that he wants to do that. And of course, what helped here is that the American president, President Trump, said that when it comes to security assurances for Ukraine, where the Europeans are working hard to get there, that he wants to join that. That will, of course, help also for the Ukrainians, for the US to be involved. But in the end, there has to be a meeting. They have to sit together, but it has to start with a full ceasefire. And I fully support the president's vision on this.
You know, you mentioned that the sanctions that the Treasury Department has put in place, you think that's going to change the dynamic. Things so far have not moved Putin to get to this ceasefire or to change what he's been doing with attacks inside Ukraine. Do you think this will do it? Do you think it's going to take more of attacks inside Russia by Ukraine?
Well, look what happened. I mean, the Russians have lost now 1 million people, dead or seriously wounded, since the war started. Since last Christmas, they gained a territory the size of Jacksonville in Florida. And last month, they again lost over 20,000 people. Not the seriously wounded, they were all dead. That's the same amount as the Soviets lost in 10 years in Afghanistan. So, and then look what happened when the president decided on secondary sanctions, on tariffs on India. Putin came to Alaska. When the president said we might, yes or no, do something with tomahawks. Immediately it was the Russian president on the phone with the American president last Thursday. So we are able collectively to change the calculus of Vladimir Putin. And here I really have to commend the leadership of Donald Trump, of the American president.
Mr. Secretary General, each one of those times, though, after Alaska, after Putin traveled to China, after phone calls, in the past, the attacks have increased inside Ukraine. What do you say to critics who say that these communications with Putin let him off the hook and essentially enable him to push this war forward while he continues to say, maybe I'll be willing to talk?
I would not agree. I would say that when President Trump came into office and was willing to dialogue and engage with both President Putin and President Zelensky, that's exactly the way forward. We always knew this was not easy to get this ended, and we still need time to do it, but consistent pressure on the Russians to come to the table. But also having sometimes very straightforward conversations with the president of Ukraine. This is all necessary. And this is exactly what the Americans are doing at the moment under the leadership of President Trump to end this war. This will not end tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but I fully subscribed to his vision that the step one should be a ceasefire, full ceasefire, stop the fighting, stop the killing.
The Treasury Department, when they put out these sanctions, is urging that ceasefire that you're talking about in the statement that they put out. The Treasury Secretary was just on Larry Kudlow's show and is specifically talking about European countries and how important it is for European countries to get on board. Take a listen. Oh, this is the president talking about that.
I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions. It's sanctions on oil. The two biggest oil companies, among the biggest in the world, but they're Russian. They do a lot of oil. And hopefully it'll push, hopefully he'll become reasonable, and hopefully Zelensky will be reasonable too. You know, it takes two to tango.
And the Treasury Secretary is saying he's been making calls all afternoon to try to discuss it with European countries. Do you think countries over there are going to take this seriously and get on board with these sanctions?
Well, the good thing is that Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, and President Trump, they have become close friends over the last 3-4 months, and they were able to get to a deal when it comes to the trade relationship between the EU and the United States. And on that basis, I think it is totally fair for the US to say, hey, when we do stuff against, in this case, the Russians, we would like for the Europeans to follow as much as possible. And this is exactly the type of discussion going on. Take, for example, the Americans saying, why is Hungary and Slovakia still buying oil from Russia? And they are working together now to make sure that all of this step by step will get to a place where it provides maximum pressure on the Russians, because that's in the end what we need. And at the same time also keeping the conversation going with the Ukrainians.
I have this last thing, this graphic where it shows the Russian attacks after each one of these efforts that we talked about, Alaska, the phone calls, the outreach to Putin, and the number of attacks spike almost directly after each one of these things. Has the incursion into NATO countries continued? We had a spate of those with drones and other flyovers. Has that continued?
Yeah, what we have seen is, of course, 3 MiG-31 flying into Estonian airspace, and we have seen the drones into Poland, this all in the last 6 weeks. As far as we can establish, it was not intentional, but it was anyway reckless, it was unacceptable. But NATO reacted exactly as we should. We have trained and prepared for this. This is not new, this happened in the Soviet days. It now also happens under President Putin. It's got to stop. But NATO has exactly reacted, and if necessary, and let me make that point again, because there was some misunderstanding in the last couple of weeks, if necessary, NATO can take down these planes if they pose a threat. If they do not pose a threat, they will be intercepted and then gently being guided outside, in this case, of Estonian airspace.
And you're optimistic that Putin may change where he has been over recent weeks?
Look at the Russian economy, the long lines of cars into the gasoline stations, the fact that the Ukrainians have now hit 1/3 of the Russian oil and gas infrastructure, which is the main backbone of their economy. The French president now organizing in Europe for countries to do much more against this shadow fleet, which is also a main source of income for the Russians. All of this will help to change the calculus. But always, because you, the Americans, you have the biggest economy in the world, the biggest military in the world, and you have a president which is laser focused on getting this thing ended. And collectively, we will change Putin's calculus and get him to the table and get this ceasefire going. I'm absolutely convinced. It may not be today or tomorrow, but we will get there.
I know we all hope so. Mr. Secretary General, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.